On this vote, the yeas are 53, the nays are 47. The motion to table is agreed to.
Colleagues, in a few moments, I'm going to call up for a vote, a resolution on a privileged motion to end the war in Iran. I'm going to be joined on the floor by several of my colleagues, all of us here in astonishment that 4 weeks into the most significant conflict in the Middle East, in most of our careers in this body, 12 plus Americans killed, $2 billion at least being spent every day, thousands dead throughout the region, we have still not yet had a single hearing in the United States Senate on the war in Iran. We have not had a debate on a war authorization. We have not had a vote to allow senators to weigh in up or down as to whether they want the United States to be at war again in the Middle East. This is an extraordinary moment, and I know we risk engaging in hyperbole these days, coming down to the floor and naming one moment as extraordinary after another moment. But I don't think we have had a moment like this where the United States has been unquestionably at war with a foreign power, where American soldiers are dying as we speak, and it is being hidden actively from the public by the Congress. It's bad enough that we haven't had a debate and vote other than those forced by Democrats. We haven't had a hearing in the Foreign Relations Committee. I'm going to read to you an excerpt from a Washington Post article. Now, the Washington Post has been being very careful about their criticism of the president recently. A surge of additional U.S. forces in the Middle East and President Donald Trump's threat to obliterate Iran's energy infrastructure have set the stage for what U.S. and Israeli security officials increasingly see as the war's endgame, a battle for control of the Strait of Hormuz and key energy installations. Reopening the strait has emerged as perhaps the paramount objective of the war. Officials now believe it is unlikely to achieve goals that briefly seemed possible at the outset of the war, including overthrowing Iran's theocratic regime and putting a nuclear weapon permanently out of Tehran's reach. Okay, let me restate that for you. The Trump administration now says that the goal of the war is not to dislodge an anti-American regime in Tehran. It is not to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. It's not even to permanently end Iran's ability to have missiles that can reach their neighbors or drone capacity that can provoke in the region. The primary goal now is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Here's the problem. The strait was open before the war began. We are now seeking to solve a problem that we created. This is insanity. $2 billion is a lot of money. That's the minimum amount of money that is being spent every single day on this war. There are over a dozen families who are burying their loved ones in the United States, and there may be dozens more if this war continues. Prices are skyrocketing, not just in America, but all across the world. Word is that Iran has now figured out that they can open the strait for limited purposes if you pay them. And that may now be the permanent state of affairs in the strait, that Iran will decide who gets to go through and who doesn't. That's not what happened before the war. We have created a new reality in which Iran has more power over the global economy than they have ever had before. We have not been able to stop their ability to project power. They're still today 4 weeks into the war, firing missiles and drones at their neighbors. The regime that is in charge now is, according to analysts, worse than the regime that it replaced. Yes, we killed a whole bunch of people, including the supreme leader, but from everything we understand, the group now in charge is more adversarial to U.S. interests and is going to be more provocative in the region. So this war makes absolutely no sense. And the only way to save American consumers, the only way to try to put the pieces back together in the region is for the war to end.
What is the rationale for the war? The president has suggested it was to obliterate a nuclear program that he claimed had been obliterated, to stop a ballistic missile program when the missiles' progress in Iran would have been years before they could have developed a missile that would have reached the United States, to change a regime, to back up Iranian protesters, maybe to control Iranian oil. We would have been able to ask questions about the rationale and get an answer rather than a shifting collection of answers that have been given. We would have been able to ask questions about what are your plans to minimize harm to civilians? We've already seen tragedies with respect to harm to civilians. What are your plans to protect allies who, if Iran is attacked, are likely to face retaliatory attacks from Iran? Many of our allies were not prepared to face what Iran did because the United States did not consult with them. And Mr. President, just to use one item in this that would clearly have been a discussion if the administration had done what the Constitution requires and come to Congress. What about the Straits of Hormuz, where massive percentages of the world's energy, critical minerals, fertilizer, and other byproducts come through the straits? What is the plan for that? What is the plan to make sure that the straits are not choked off in a way that hurt everyday American families in the entire global economy?
On this vote, the yeas are 47, the nays are 53. The motion is not agreed to. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I send a cloture motion to the desk for the motion to proceed to calendar number 311, H.R. 7147.
The clerk will report.
Because of the war in Iran, gas in Delaware was $2.87 a gallon just over a month ago, is now today $3.79. The cost of groceries have gone up, the cost of health care have gone up, the cost of electricity have gone up, the cost of gas has gone up. Why are these costs going up? Partly the reckless war with Iran, but also tariffs. After the Supreme Court struck down the IEEPA tariffs, that's the law on which they were based, Trump proposed and put in place a new 10% global tariff.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.